Hi, I'm Lisa Singer. I am the Senior Director Event Programming at Media Post, and this is Brand Insider BTS, where I get to pull back the curtain on some of the most influential women marketers today. And with me is Kim Ito. She is the VP of Marketing at Mitsubishi Motors North America. Hey, Kim, welcome.
Hey Lisa, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it's so great. I mean, last time we saw each other was at our automotive show and you were awesome on stage. So I knew I had to get you for this. So I'm so glad we were able to make it work out.
Yes, agree.
Yeah. So, well, I always say I do my snooping with everyone beforehand. And one of the things I found snooping on your LinkedIn page is that you said that you like to empower teams and you want them to be creative and to try new things. Well, I want to turn the tables on you and ask you, what new things have you tried recently or what's the most recent thing or the most thing that kind of stands out to you?
Oh, growing up, I played piano and then I went away to college and have not thought about playing piano, but I recently picked it up again.
Yeah.
And just getting back into the practice, it's so humbling and challenging, but it's also really satisfying. And so that's a personal win that I can feel good about at the end of the day. And that's something that I've been challenging with myself lately.
Yeah, no, so is it something, I mean, you're saying challenging yourself. So is it not necessarily for relaxation, but more to stimulate you and do something new?
I think a little bit of both. It is challenging, but it's also relaxing because it's me time.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's both.
What's the song of the day or or maybe the song that you're aiming at?
It's by Pink, and it's called "Just Give Me a Reason."
Oh yeah, really? Awesome. Very cool. So have we achieved this or are we still working on it?
We're still working on it. It's a work in progress for
Well,
sure.
we'll have to have a part two, and it'll just be you playing your song.
That would be great. Thank you.
We'll send it to Pink. Maybe she'll bring you in. Have a part of her concert.
Love it. Yes,
That would
please.
be awesome. Please. All right. Well, I also one of the other things I noticed on LinkedIn that you believe in radical candor. So it's something obviously not everyone embraces. So I want to ask you, and has anyone been radically candor or used radical candor to you? I'm probably saying that the wrong way, but told you something in true full honesty that maybe hit you a certain way or, sort of was like, ooh,
Yes. I will say the first time I read Radical Candor by Kim Scott, I feel like my life had changed, because it was so eye-opening, and that's how I felt too the first time I received radically candid feedback. It was very eye-opening. I felt in that moment I was seen, I was validated, and I was heard. And it's not because the feedback was positive. It wasn't all positive. It's because my manager had taken the time to show that they personally cared and they were directly challenging me. And it was that kind and clear, specific and sincere feedback that just yeah really validated me. And I do feel if a manager can exemplify those characteristics, they are going to build a team that is trustworthy, they're accountable, and then they're driven to succeed.
yeah. Well, I mean, I think it sounds like it's one thing to be directly honest with someone or, telling them whether it's, obviously you want to hear good too, but and the bad or the more negative, but the way they did it instead of it's more constructive, it's more, as you said, you felt heard, you felt seen. So it's not just about being brutally honest. It's
No,
there's a style that has to go with it.
that's right. Honesty doesn't have to be brutal. Right? Yes.
Yeah.
It's that type of feedback where it really is showing that the manager personally cares. And yeah, and then they're directly challenging the individual, and that it's on the individual to, react and take action based on that feedback.
Do you feel like it's true in personal life too? Like, is that something that's necessary?
Absolutely. Yes. Radical candor can be applied to every aspect of your life. My husband, my kids, friends, community, like it's really good advice.
And they'll be like, uh-oh, Kim's at it. Doc,
Here she comes again with
oh
her
no.
candid feedback.
I think it's my time for good. Definitely. Well, I want to get into your history in terms of your job, your career path. And I know you started on the agency side, and you were at Qantas Airlines for a bit,
Mhm.
and then now at Mitsubishi. And so, talk about that when you were first starting out, back in college, maybe senior
Mm.
year. What was this your path? Was this what you envisioned? What did you see for yourself?
All right, get ready. This is a journey. When I started college, I knew I wanted to be a marketing major. And it was about 2 years into college where I actually fell in love with English literature. I was reading and writing, I was storytelling, I was learning about different cultures and origins. And then, as part of literature, you're recognizing symbolic themes or you're understanding the societal impact on literature. And I changed my major. The problem was when I graduated college, I did not know what to do. And I just so happened to be on an alumni job forum, and there was an open role for a media buying assistant. I went to the interview, had no idea what media buying was, which made for a very interesting interview. I mean, to this day, I still wonder how I actually got the role, but it turned out that the role was at an agency that was a subsidiary of RPA, and RPA was the agency of record for Honda and Acura. And at this smaller agency, I got to shadow everyone. I was reviewing media kits, I was calling media vendors for, signage costs, I was proofreading print ads, I was attending client meetings. I really did get to do a little bit of everything. I loved the job. And about 6 months into the job, they told me, "Thanks for your time. It's time for you to go get a new job." And I mean, I was gutted, right? I was 22 and getting that news, I didn't really understand. Um, but I realized that was their way of saying you're ready for the next chapter. And I landed a job at Saatchi and Saatchi. I was working in media on Toyota. And about 2 weeks into the job, I felt like this was my dream job. I have been looking for a place like this. This is exactly what I want to do for the rest of my life. And again, I'm a young 20 something year old. So I still had like this itch to scratch. There was like this desire to just see if there was something else out there. When I thought back to my college days of reading and writing and storytelling and learning about different cultures, I had really missed that. So I went back to school for my master's in English literature.
Wow.
And then 2 years later, I found myself missing marketing. But but also I recognized similarities between marketing and, what I liked about English literature. I was building a narrative. I was telling a brand story. I was defining these themes, and
Mhm.
that's when it really all started to click for me
Yeah.
that I could use my passion for to drive my career.
Right.
And so I went back to the agency side, but I knew I always wanted to get to the brand side because I was really interested in working on business strategy. And I landed a job at Qantas Airways, which is an amazing company to work for. The Australian culture, it's a very strong brand, and then just the nature of the business is e-commerce. So I got to really immerse myself in digital marketing strategies. I learned so much from the people in that role that I'm really grateful for. but
And then
my
Mitsubishi.
and then yeah, Mitsubishi, my
Yeah.
uh I wanted to get back into automotive, and then coincidentally, the day I looked on MMA's website, they had just posted an open role, and the rest is history.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm curious, what was it about getting back into automotive? I mean, especially as a woman, I don't think it's the case today as much, but I do think there's still levels of it in terms of sort of that male dominated industry. But just talking with so many of you guys who are women, well, I'm not supposed to say you guys, but anyway, so many senior level executives in the automotive industry who are these amazing women. So we're seeing more of that. But again, when you're looking to say get back into the automotive, was that something that maybe made you pause a little bit, or did you see any of that, or what was your experience?
I f I wanted to get back into automotive because I felt that I left prematurely. I didn't accomplish all that I had wanted to while I was, in the automotive industry world, and so going back just felt natural to me and something that I had really wanted to do.
Is it something that, so say someone else starting today, and as I said, I do believe things are changing and they'll probably continue to change. But say a young woman, or even just any woman who maybe is looking for a career change, looking to get into the automotive industry, what's that advice that you might give that maybe you wished you had heard when you were first getting into it?
Mm. Yeah, when I started out, there weren't many women in leadership roles, and so finding that female role model was really hard. I mean, now, like you said, there's the rise of women in leadership roles across the automotive industry, especially with just the prevalence of LinkedIn and social networking that's brought to light so many female leaders in the industry, which has been great. But it really was difficult to see myself in a leadership role in the beginning. And yeah, I was just grateful to have a seat at the table, when I finally made it. But I quickly realized that I have to get over that because now my job is to advocate for others, and get their seat at the table. This is really where the work begins, and also, I mean, I earned my seat at the table. So while I'm grateful to have it, yeah, I also feel like I earned it. Um, but advocating for myself and for other women has been a big part of my journey now.
Yeah, I'm curious though, because as you said, when you first started, you didn't see that option. You were just, enjoying your role and enjoying being a part of the automotive industry. You wanted to learn more. But was there a time when it clicked over that I can be that leader? I can be the VP of marketing, or did it just sort of happen? And I'm not saying happen as in you didn't work at it. But I'm just saying, was there a moment where you kind of had to say, I can do this and now I'm going to go for it? Or was it just sort of happening as you went, and then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I'm here at VP of marketing, or
Mm.
I have that seat at the table?
I always wanted it. I always knew that that was my career goal, and I am lucky that I found, you know, the company that I'm at now who recognizes hard work and leadership skills and strategic thinking. I I've just always wanted it, and so there wasn't a time where I felt like, is now the time, is now where I kick it into, third gear. I think that's always been my goal.
So getting back to the advice, what would you say to someone? Because you had a varied background, you were agency side, you did work at, Qantas. Um, do you think that's important, or can someone who knows, hey, I love the automotive industry, I'd love to be a part of it, can I just jump in from the ground level and work my way up? Like, what would your advice be to that person just starting to try to get into it?
That's a tough question because my journey has been so unique. I would say figure out what you're passionate about right? And, whether that is marketing or the automotive industry, you have to find out what you're passionate about, uh, what you feel good about. I think being your authentic self is really important. The just making sure that you have a set of guiding principles that you stand for and follow is really important. Um, but, I do mentor younger women just starting out in marketing, and a lot of times they're looking for that answer of what is the right path? What path should I take? And I always like put that back on them. Like, what do you want? What do you think you're good at? Where do you see yourself heading? Because there's no right answer. And just that reassurance and that validation is what the younger generation or people starting out, they need to hear.
Mhm. Well, and it sounds like, I mean, as it's you need to have that drive, no pun intended. But no, it's just that is foremost. It's just, you can't just say, "Oh, I want to work here." Like you need to, as you even sort of zigzagged a bit based on, "Hey, this isn't really what I want, so let's go here." So it's about pursuing something, but then listening to where your heart goes, your head goes, the combination, and going for it that way. So
That's
yeah, it's definitely good advice. All right, I have to ask, what is there something that people get wrong about you when they first meet you? Maybe think something that's not quite true.
hmm. I don't know that there's one thing that most people get wrong about me. I'm certainly underestimated for whatever reason, whether it's
Yeah, because you're sweet and cute and
all of the stereotypes that maybe a younger woman in automotive would bring. Um, that's yeah, just underestimated. That's
that can almost be a what's the word I'm looking for? A weapon, or for lack of a better thought. But like when people go into it thinking, oh, not as you said, underestimating you, and then you can really show them up, or not necessarily. I don't mean it in a negative way, although sometimes it could be that it needs to be, but just like pleasantly surprise them. It's always better to go on the better as opposed to the less in terms of what people think of you.
yes. And I think that goes back to being your authentic self, right? If you are just who you are 24/7, there's really, I mean, your characteristics, your true self will shine through, and whoever underestimated you will be proven wrong. You really don't have to say too much. It is what it is.
Have you ever heard? I have to ask because I have, so don't. Um, After people talking to you a bit, or whatever, like, wow, you're actually really smart, or oh wow, I didn't. Like, gee, thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I feel you there. But like,
Yeah, and that says more about other people than us, right?
yeah.
It's
So, but like I said, it's always better to be pleasantly surprised. I said, or for the better, than. But then it does makes you do wonder sometimes beforehand, like, what if I was always just there to airhead to you, Or so I do go back and forth, but like they think they're saying it and it's a compliment, but it's sort of not, it is, but it isn't. It's one of those backhanded ones.
right, yes, they think they're complimenting you, but in actuality, it's not a compliment.
Basically, I've been thinking you're as dumb as a brick, but no, you're
Sure,
not. No, no, not so much.
exactly, yep,
All
yeah.
right. All right. Well, getting back to Mitsubishi, I always love to like kind of incorporate something of your brand without it being about the brand. So obviously drive your ambition is Mitsubishi's tagline. So I want to ask you what drives your ambition.
Oh,
And that can be, let me pepper that. It can be in your career goals, not in your job itself, but like in your career goals from now till as moving forward. Or it could also be an ambition on a personal side, like, or it could be one of each. So something that just you have this ambition for, and what drives it.
mm, well, I always wanted to be the head of marketing, so, uh,
Jack.
that is a check. Now, what I need to do is master the piano again. So that is next on my list. But
That
you
is
know,
dot, dot, dot.
that's to be continued.
Yes.
I will say though, drive your ambition because it is our tagline. We do think about it a lot here, or I think about this a lot too within the walls of MMA. And I really do believe in the power of belief or manifestation, as silly as that may seem. What it means though is that you're betting on yourself. And I think that is so powerful. So whatever that dream is, whether it's becoming the head of marketing or, mastering piano again, like betting on yourself is just really important. And I encourage, anyone who's still trying to find their way to remember that. Um, and then the second would be knowing your value or knowing what you're worth, not just in terms of dollars, but you know, in terms of time and resources and effort. Know your value because that is also going to help drive your ambition.
Yeah, no, that's true. Because if you believe in yourself, or I think it's more like you know you can do that, or you should be doing that, or whatever that may be. It's easier to fight for it or push for it, as opposed to if you're questioning yourself, then why should others think you can do it?
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Makes sense. Well, I'm curious in the sense of, again, keeping with the car, and let's go for frivolous. Everyone, that beautiful Sunday wants to just take off, maybe in a convertible, driving, and just go anywhere. If there's no limit, nothing in your way, where do you go?
Oh, well, a few years ago, we moved from California to Tennessee, and we have been really enjoying just exploring this side of the country, in our car. And so, one place that I find that we keep going back to is Atlanta, Georgia. It is fun. There's so much culture, great food, so much to do and see. Uh, the kids enjoy it. We have a blast there. So that's where I'd go if I had a yeah, Sunday to spend.
To go to Atlanta. So
Yeah.
what's on the radio as you're driving?
Oh, we are Spotify listeners connected through our wireless Apple CarPlay.
Of course, plug and
uh,
ticket.
technology. And so it's a mixture of kids bop or or something a bit more instrumental when we need a bit of quiet time because it is a 4 hour drive.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, especially, how old are your kids?
They're 9 and 5.
Ooh, so you need to entertain them for 4 hours.
There's yeah a need for entertainment and a need for quiet time at part of the trip as well.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so I want to ask in terms of challenges, like in the course of your career or even life. It doesn't necessarily have to be related to your career, but what was the biggest challenge that you've ever had to overcome?
Oh, well, I will say that the biggest challenge I had to overcome was when we moved across the country with my husband and the kids for this role. We moved away from family and our entire, support system. So coming to a state where we didn't know anyone and we had little kids was quite the challenge. At the same time, we were balancing work and family and just figuring out how to how to get through this chapter of our lives was a challenge. My husband and I look back at that time and we just look at ourselves like, how did we do it? That was crazy. But that is one that is very personal and one that I'm so proud of. My kids are happy, healthy, they're thriving here. My husband and I love Tennessee and You know, when those things are good in life, there's nothing else that matters.
Yeah. I'm curious, how, like, so when you're facing it, because obviously you felt it leaving it. You're saying goodbye to your family. You're saying goodbye to all you know. Your kids are probably maybe not as on board as you'd like them to be. And so,
Mhm.
how do you? It's as daunting as it is. How do you face that and get into that? Like, is it this big? You have to must not be able to be like the big picture. Like is there a focus? Do you have to hone in on one or two things, or maybe it is for you a big picture? Like, how do you get yourself through that to continue to do it? You knew you had to. You got this job. You needed to do it. But how do you sort of overcome that fear or those issues? And it can be overwhelming if you don't sort of make a plan or pick a spot or whatever it is you may do.
First, we had an exit strategy. My husband and I agreed, if we are not happy, if this is not working for us, we'll move back. That was first and foremost. The second was going out of our comfort zone and finding our community, our tribe here quickly. And that was very hard because at, a certain stage in your life, especially with kids and career, it is very hard to find new friends and find people you trust. Something as simple as, finding somebody you're going to put on your emergency contact list for your kids' school when
Right.
you've just moved to a state where you don't know anybody. That definitely stretched us outside of our comfort zone, right? Finding your people, and then third, just making sure that the kids were our priority, right? That their happiness and that their health was top of mind, that we didn't stray from like those core elements
Mhm.
were the basis of our plan here.
Yeah, keeping the family unit of it status quo
Yes.
in terms of
Yes.
within the family, not obviously it's not status quo for the rest of what you're doing. But
Yes.
well, in all right, so now you got through this challenge. How about is there a failure that you had that you learned from, or maybe it had you, it pivot where then that's what brought you to something better?
I'm going to answer this in two ways. So first, uh, I will say that when we moved, it was right before COVID and the pandemic. And
Mm.
so we had moved, and then we were all in our house together for, an unknown period of time. But we thought, well, why did we move across the country to do this? Because we're all in the same house. We could have done this from
Right.
California, where we had our support system. In that moment, it felt like a failure. It felt that our plan had failed. I felt like I had failed, and getting through that period, again, just relying on my husband, our people. I mean, that made me realize it wasn't a failure. We had tried something and it wasn't exactly how we had planned it to go, but it certainly wasn't a failure. Um, and the second way I'll answer that is I just heard something from Adam Grant. He is one of my like favorite psychologists slash authors. He just said, he posted this on social media. If I never fail, it means I'm not challenging myself. You have to give yourself space to fail. And that doesn't mean that you're aiming for failure. It means that you're taking risk and you're experimenting. And in that, right, the idea is that you will find growth. But if you succeed at 100% of your projects, you're probably aiming too low. And I just love that idea, because again, the thought during that, COVID period of us just being in the house driving each other crazy trying to work and feed the kids and do kindergarten on Zoom, it certainly did feel like a failure. But looking back, we've grown so much,
Mhm.
uh, and so glad we did it that, like, that really was the foundation for the success we have today.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I totally agree with that. I think for a lot of us, I mean, I think everyone, but women in particular, it's fear that it stifles us from trying those. You always want approval. Like there's two sides of it. You want approval, but you want to go after what you want, and it's trying to recognize where you're holding yourself back and where you need to just jump in and, as you said, perhaps fail.
Yes.
Definitely. All right. Before we wrap, I just want to ask you, is there one small thing about you, maybe inconsequential, that most people don't know about, or at least no one outside the inner circle of your family, that you would share that you think people might find interesting, or just something that it's kind of, a little tidbit of what who Kim is?
Oh, I used to be a 5th grade teacher.
Really?
Yes. So in my crazy journey of agency and school and now brand side, there was a moment I was a 5th grade teacher.
Wow, very cool. So you're teaching them how to sell products and
Exactly.
so we're gonna have a bunch of new little budding marketers coming up, and after what was that? What was the fifth graders? Then what year will they be graduating?
They're already graduated.
Oh,
That's
they
that's
have.
the crazy part,
Okay,
yes.
so they're gonna be knocking on your door then. And this is awesome. Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure getting to know you like this, rather than just on the business side.
Yes, thanks so much for having me, Lisa. This was so fun.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching. And please, if you have anyone that you want me to pull back the curtain on, let me know, and I will do my best to get her. So thanks again, and thank you again, Kim.
Thank you.